Welcome to the Perspective class, Perspective seminar, 8 steps to Christ vision. And today, step 3. And yeah, so these are enormous steps that you could really take some time to go through it. Because these are like humongous topics, in fact, or yeah, it can take some time when you go through all this. So the one step was determination, and the second is perseverance, and the third is forgiveness. And forgiveness is the one that we're going to take some time for today. And forgiveness, yeah, that can take a moment too before you recognize what it actually means. So in order to speed that up, whether you like it or not, you have a chance to forgive your brother now quicker than ever before after this class. So if you really want that, you should stay, and otherwise you might as well just do something else right now. So this is a very much like, okay, let's get to the essence of forgiveness. There are all kinds of ideas about it, and I hope to dismiss as many as possible that have nothing to do with forgiveness, but something else, and whatever that something else is. So I hope to give you that clarity today, and just this, so that you no longer have to struggle with the idea of forgiveness, but that it becomes so obvious that it's like, yes, of course, I have no choice but to do this, or this has already been taken care of. But hey, we'll see what shows up today. So for one thing, I sent out the step 3 PDF, and that's an interesting one too. So it has a prayer in it that I want to use in a moment. It is a miracle prayer, and this is a great prayer to come to. Okay, so this is a great prayer to come to the recognition of this is going on with forgiveness. And actually you meet, say you become acquainted with the idea of the end of time, where actually that already took place. So literally from looking from the perspective of Christ's mind to all this. But that's only the entrance. So just to lift us up into that consciousness. So for now, yeah, we can do this like relaxation moment. Never forget to relax and to step back, and not thinking that you're doing something, not thinking that you have to achieve a goal, otherwise you experience too much stress, and it's not good for your peace of mind, for sure. So what I'm actually doing now is taking a moment to go through the miracle prayer that I was talking about, and we use this prayer to just center ourselves into light, into quietness, into stillness, into that place where we actually start to communicate naturally. And when I say communication, it's like a direct communication that is possible between us, and not one that you need words for necessarily. So in that stillness we're going to meet. So I'm going to share a screen with you in which this miracle prayer is already available. Yeah, here's the prayer. So I'm going to read this to you, and it has everything that forgiveness has in it. All right, so I can be free of suffering today. Just breathe this in. Don't try to understand it. Just relax right into it. Let it affect you. Open yourself up to it. I can be free of suffering today. And don't forget to breathe is always what I say too, because it's really helpful to become conscious of your breath, and not to forget to deeply inhale and slowly exhale. Father, I thank you for today. and for the freedom I am certain it will bring. This day is holy, for today your Son will be redeemed. His suffering is done, for he will hear your voice directing him to find Christ's vision through forgiveness and be free forever from all suffering. Thanks for today, my Father. I was born into this world but to achieve this day and what it holds in joy and freedom for your Holy Son and for the world he made, which is released along with him. Be glad today, be glad. There's no room for anything but joy and thanks today. Our Father has redeemed his Son this day. Not one of us but will be saved today. Not one who will remain in fear. And none the Father will not gather to himself. Awaken heaven in the heart of love. I can be free of suffering today. So let's be still with that for a moment. If you want to read it again, you can, but I'm keeping myself quiet here just to have this come to me. Like, I can be free of suffering today. It's my choice. And don't forget to breathe, to relax deeply into this. I can be free of suffering today. So thank you for this. That's great. That's great. So that's a great start. So I can be free of suffering today. That's quite a promise, isn't it? And it's like, okay, so can you tell me how to do that, or what's necessary for that, to achieve that? And it just seems like totally impossible, in my experience of myself, to be completely free of it. So what is the recognition that I need in order for that to be true? It's like, why am I disturbing that idea all the time with my ideas? How is that possible? Like, what is that? How do you do this? So these things, like I said, you really have to want this. because you are being confronted with something here, and that takes a moment to sink in. I can tell you that. It takes a moment to sink in that the origin of everything that you see and that you experience, that's actually you. That is where it starts with here. And you can accept that as an idea. That's great. You can hear it. You might even like the idea. It's like, okay, it starts with me. That's wonderful. It's good to know. But then it goes a little bit further than that, quite a bit. And that's like you actually have to start to apply it. And like, how am I applying the fact that everything is originating like from right there and not from anywhere else? So the idea of forgiveness then already becomes obvious. It's like, what is happening? I'm actually recognizing that I'm the cause of what I perceive. I have to admit that in order for me to see it that way, and also to be able to take responsibility for what I see. And that's quite something, because for a long time I didn't accept that idea at all, and I absolutely did not believe it either. So that means that I built up some work for myself, in the sense of, I have a list of people. For instance, I have a list of people. I make an inventory of all the people that are doing something to me, just like we do in the 12-step meetings, or in the AA, or the NA, or the CODA meetings, or in whatever meeting you might have gone to, or was in touch with, or maybe still do. It's like you make an inventory of people that you have harmed or have harmed you, and that you think are the cause of your misery. And that can be quite a long list. I speak from experience. I did it. I did it. So I did make an inventory. Did I forgive them all too? Well, that was the next part, right? So to forgive the ones that you think did something to you. Actually, that is totally impossible for a human being to do that. It's totally impossible to forgive someone for what he did to you. That's in fact totally impossible. And you probably agree with me on that. It's like you never completely forgive that person for that. But what needs to happen in order for that to occur? So what actually needs to happen for you to be able to forgive? And so I actually did already some work with that, with you, just now, by saying like, okay, the cause of it is right here. It doesn't come from anywhere else. So it's not that anyone has ever done something to you, even though it might look like that, but as you know, that your perception is not a fact. It is a reflection. It is mesmerism. It is a dream. It holds no reality. And that's quite an idea to accept too. But say, in order to be able to forgive and recognizing that you were the start of it and not anyone else, you see also that it was just a mistake, that it was not a real occurrence, even though it might have hurt you in your dreams, and you might still be mad at this person or this situation or this thing that happened. So how can you deal with this, that it becomes helpful and actually digestible, so to speak? How can you actually come to an activity of forgiveness? So that is a good question, right? That's a good question. So recognizing that the nature of all these occurrences are temporal reflections, if you want. It's like temporal possibilities, or things that are actually occurring in your dream, but they're temporal, so they're not forever. That means that they hold no reality in reality. So by recognizing that, and that's a real premise in order to forgive. It's like recognizing that all these occurrences were so real in my mind. They were so real. I really thought somebody was doing something to me, and I prove of that. Like I can prove it with the scars in my body, or whatever it is, or the scars in my soul, or however you want to say expose that. I have to recognize that in reality it doesn't hold up. It's like it's not there. It did not occur the way that you thought it did. So that's a premise in order to be able to forgive, because otherwise you will never do it. You will never do it. You will always hold on to the fact that you can prove that your brother, for instance, was wrong, or that this had happened or that had happened. So this takes time to let that sink in and to accept that idea and to actually work with that. So obviously you need help with that, because this is one of the hardest things to do, to see that all the occurrences that really seem to block you, limit you, hurt you, and all this, it takes, like, that's amazing that happened, but to admit and to really feel that that was an occurrence in a dream that holds in the end no reality, but is actually already over, because you can say, like, all the occurrences were in the past and the past is over. That was what we were talking about the other day. It's like, well, apparently the past is over. Whatever seemed to have occurred is already gone. It is not here anymore, even though I might walk around with it with a fresh memory that brings me back to that moment all the time. I'm actually bringing it back into this now moment and give it reality. But it doesn't make it real. See, that is quite a bite to digest. That's quite something to let that really sink in for yourself and give that a place inside your ideas about yourself. Like, okay, wow, that's quite a step. So like I said, you need help with that. Here comes Spirit, here comes your comforter, here comes the one that can actually help you with this. Recognizing the unreality of it, being completely in communication with God, that would be the great help. That would be the bridge that you just needed to walk over to the other side. See, and the reason that this is being offered in this seminar with this specific title, like Coming to Christ Vision, 8 steps towards Christ Vision. This is an essential step. So you're going to cross the bridge. You're going to cross the bridge, but not just for the sake of it, for the fun of it or something. So like, no, you actually do this to come to life, to a real experience of yourself. The you that is free forever, that is always there, that was not born, that is consciousness. But for one thing, it is a serious, like, great experience of the truth of who you are, in communication with everyone, free of suffering all the time, free of fear, and totally available to you. So it is your true nature, even though that seems now maybe difficult to understand or to feel. But well, that's why we cross these, go through these episodes. Forgiveness is the one we do today. You have to go through certain aspects in order to get there. So what is given you is everything, and your what is being asked of you, your effort in this is very little in that sense, but what you get in exchange for it is everything. So that is really a good deal in that sense. It's a really good deal. See, and if you recognize your life as you know it, or your existence, I might as well call it your existence as you live it as a human being, you live your existence. You are being born, you live some time here, and then you apparently die, which is not going to happen to you. But it is like that, if you're sufficiently fed up with that idea, then say the light of Christ starts to move closer to you. You start to recognize glimpses of it in your life, like, oh my God, there's something else going on. It's like the moon shining through the branches of the tree. Suddenly there's a light coming to you. You start to recognize different things. When you say decline, or when you dislodge more from the world and your occupation in it and your attachments to it, the whole nature or the fabric of your dream becomes lighter. So light starts to shine right through it. Sometimes you see things happening and it becomes so clear, the dreamlike nature of this. It's like so obvious then. And also the meaninglessness of the perception that you have becomes very obvious too. So to admit these things without having a deep experience of Christ realization is probably the most difficult period, because you don't really feel the alternative yet, and you know it must be there, but you know for sure that this existence is not what it appeared to be, where you put so much effort in and what actually did not give you what it promised you. So that's why it's good to come together and see that you go through this process. It's inevitable. So it's like everyone will in the end go through this process, and it comes with these steps that you suddenly see the valuelessness of everything, but also knowing that that's not the end of it, that you actually have a possibility to move through it, almost like through a tunnel, and come out and see the light shine on the other side. So this is one of the bridges or tunnels, if you want. Forgiveness is definitely one of them. And having had nothing but great experiences with that, so I had sufficient people to forgive, especially myself, of course, recognizing that, but having great experiences with that were really healing moments. And in that sense, I can totally, tell you to do the same. Take a good look at who you think is doing something to you. Then allow healing to occur by holding hand with the spirit, moving through to the other side and coming in touch with the ones that you thought has hurt you, and seeing that there's nothing left of any of that. That there's no hard feelings or nothing in the way to just love. I, up to today, have great experiences with that, and that is, that's so great, because then it becomes really obvious that nothing occurred, that nothing happened, even though it seems such an incredible drama at the time, or so heated, or so whatever it was. So mean, or so this, or so that, all the superlatives you want to give to it. So all that literally is being transformed, and that is so great. It is not what it appears to be. I can tell you that with 100% certainty. Like, it's absolutely not what it appears to be. No, just like with all the appearances that we have, whether that's pain, whether that is illness, whether that's financial struggle or relationship problems, you name it. All this stuff never is what it appears to be. You can say it the other way around. It's like perfect, great stuff to take another look at and allow some healing to occur. Some healing that was do, you know. That was like, that was time for it to have that been transformed in me, so I can be free of it and not being bothered by it. So that is quite something. It's so great to be able to share this, and you have your own experiences with this, I'm sure of that, and I would love to hear some of that, maybe later in the class. But it is like the you see that coming to Christ experience, coming to your Christ vision, coming to a deep experience of Christ realization, this will be the thing that puts you right with your feet on the ground, that will really help you to feel your own presence, and also to open up in yourself a deep relationship with Spirit, with God. Like the relationship that you're going to have with this so-called person with that you think you have to forgive can become a real relationship, totally different than it was before. And not that you have to do anything with any person in that sense, but it is just a side effect of it. It's like it becomes so much more down to earth, so much deeper in feeling, and it gives you the certainty that you are allowed, that you're allowed to be here, that you're allowed to love, and also that you're allowed to make a mistake, that's all right, you know. So this is huge. In my mind, it was huge to have this experience, because it was like suddenly I have the acceptance of a huge, humongous part of myself that I'm actually starting to take in, that I'm actually starting to give a place in myself. I can't believe it. I knew this was possible, but I had no idea how to get to it. So this is really one step that is necessary for that. So I don't know how else you can do that, but yeah, I made a list of people. Like I went through the AA 12-step meetings for a year, 6 years or so. So I went through that. I did that way too. But it is not necessarily that is your way. So to just sit down with yourself, if there's someone coming up in your mind right now that you think is like, well, yeah, I'm not ready with this person, like what happened isn't funny, and it's coming back to me like regularly. Well, this would be a great sign to sit still and write down all the things that you think this person did to you, and how that felt for you, and all this, and then handing that over to Spirit for it to be healed in whatever way you do that. Like the other day I was talking about a contract that you make with Spirit, in which you actually can give this, and with the promise that you won't touch it again, and allow it to come to you in a new way. That can be one of the ways to do that. So that is definitely helpful. And so then it becomes very practical. And this is what I love about the possibilities. Like, it's not just lofty ideas. You actually have to do some work. You have to do something to make this, to allow yourself to clean up within, so to speak. And there's only so much you can do. You can bring up the situations, but then don't try to deal with these situations yourself. If you think like, well, yeah, I probably have forgiven this person, then that's not enough. You know, it's like, no, you wait until it is healed in you. You give it away, but then you wait for instructions, so to speak, in how to deal with what is the next step, when, and am I supposed to do this right now? So that is really something else. But then you know that when you come in touch with this person again that you think that harmed you before, but now you don't know how it will be then a whole new experience for yourself. But the timing of it will be given. That is not that you determine how this all goes. So more in the sense of, yeah, just give yourself some time for this to change, for this to be healed. It's really great, really great. So I put down some questions, and let me see what I wrote down. So what is there to forgive was one of the questions. Like, and the one that was in this little text that I sent you was, who am I actually forgiving? You know, who is it actually that I forgive? So I'll give answer to that later. And first of all, I want to bring back in the paper that I sent you, the PDF, with some words from Joel, because it is helpful. So from Consciousness Transformed. So here, above all things, this inner life manifests itself in human relationship with each other, human relationships with each other, and at every level of life or existence, regardless of what that level might be. In our conduct and attitude toward the one closest to us or the stranger, there must be the same integrity, the same tolerance, the same patience, the same forgiveness as with anyone else. This does not mean you must be taking advantage of your inner wisdom, which you quickly take you away from those conditions. This does not mean you must be taken advantage of. Your inner wisdom would quickly take you away from those conditions. Okay, so that has to do with another part of the sentence, but I can't find it right now. So, it continues. Truth is not for you alone. It is only with the coming of the spiritual faculty. Your inner wisdom would quickly take you away from those conditions. Truth is not for you alone. It is only with the coming of the spiritual faculty. It is only when you have inner discernment that you learn the great secret, which the mind cannot believe. God is speaking, saying, Son, thou art ever with me, and all that I have is thine. Okay, so before we go any further, in our conduct, Joel says, an attitude toward one's closest to us or the stranger, there must be the same integrity and all the other faculties. Like the same, we should treat everyone the same in that sense. So, how's that going? How's that going? That's not an easy one, he said. Like, that's not an easy one, because I'm careful in my human relationship. I'm careful. I want to be loving, but I'm also careful, and that's just a difficult combination, right? It's like you want to be careful, you want to take it easy, you don't want to, yeah. So it is really like, how do you do this? How is it possible for you to do this? And in essence, yes, absolutely. I see everyone is the same. Do I treat everyone the same? No, I don't. I don't. So do I love everybody? Yes, I love everybody. I recognize the love that everyone is. Yes. Does that mean that I'm, say, expressing that continuously to everyone? No, I'm not. You know, it's like, no, that's not what is asked. That's not necessary. I thought so before, but no, that's not necessary. So there are some that I like and some I don't like, even though I love them. That sounds like complication, doesn't it? That sounds like difficult. let's bring this back to forgiveness. So recognizing my oneness with you, recognizing that there's just one of us, that there's nothing outside of me that that can hurt me, and recognizing that and applying that in the way that I say treat others, recognizing that I cannot give but to myself. That doesn't mean that I give to everyone the same way, no, but I come always from the same point, and that makes a difference. It's like in my awareness of my Christ being, my Christ mind, to make it easier, if I come from this place of this is the only moment, this is the place where I'm actually being guided to do whatever I do, like I'm just open. I have no idea what am I supposed to do, how to respond to any of the situations that are coming to me, but I listen. In my listening, it has given me how to respond. In my listening and being patient with everyone alike, that was a great one. It's like patience for everyone, yes. So coming from the place where I recognize this is the only time there is, I'm open, I'm listening, I can literally follow the directions in response. Like certain people I will say yes and hi to, and absolutely, and in some moments I will not say that way, just because that is not inspired to do it that way. So this is the only way. It's like the absolute right narrow path that we're always talking about, like the narrow path of spirit. It's like the bridge really through all of that what appears to be difficult and complex, makes it very simple. Like the only thing that really happens is this moment, nothing outside of it. There's nothing happening outside of this. We're coming here together in this moment just to experience that. We walk over this small and narrow path. We don't look back, we don't look forward. We just follow the footsteps, in fact, that are given us. It's like, oh yeah, this is the way, I'm going to do that. Yes, I respond. That's an automatic thing that happens when you start to come into the openness of forgiving myself, letting go of ideas, not holding on to anything, step by step, moment by moment, not looking too far ahead, and all this. So in order, and this what makes it full circle, it's like in order to be able to listen in this present moment to the guidance that you get, to the still small voice, as we call it, like the direct inspiration, spirit inspiration, in order for you to listen to that, to be completely open to that, I will have to forgive my past. I will have to forgive everything that's in the way on a continuing basis. Like, yeah, if there's still stuff coming up, yeah, you got to deal with it. You cannot just ignore it or negate it. It's not going to happen. It will be right in your face again. But once you get into the practice and your backyard is cleaned up, you're able to listen and to follow this instruction and go wherever you go, being centered in that. See, and this is in fact the steps that we take to it. So forgiveness is a big one too. Like walking this path of nowness, walking this path of right here, right now, is the only way you can be free of fear, of sickness, of suffering, all this. Like, this is the only place where you're actually free of everything that seems to bother you and all this. But since your mind is set on forgiving and letting go, forgetting, letting it absolutely go, but taking a good look at it when it's necessary, handing it completely over, not touching it again, coming to this practice, coming to listening to the voice, feeling the flow of that life through you in every step you take. And see, that's an interesting idea. So I'm really happy that we arrived here, because it is like, you see that there's no other way out of it. Like when I bring in situations how to deal with others, or you see the complexity that is immediately right in your face. You don't know how to respond to any of it. It doesn't mean that you don't know where to go, but you don't know how to respond. So and that is so huge. That's such a gift to discover in yourself, and also to practice. That's why it's really worth to take a good look at. Am I able to listen to this voice, or is something coming in my view the whole time? If it does, I got to deal with it. I don't have to stir it up, but if it comes up, I have to deal with it and give it away. All right, so that's great. I'm really happy that we did that. Yeah, absolutely. So this is the same as the piece of the John that I gave, in the end of this PDF. So it's like, okay, so somebody caught in adultery. That's always a great one. It's like, all right, everyone right at the edge of the seat listening, go, who was it? Who was it? With whom? And who was it? What happened? Oh my God, how bad is that? How bad is that? And then you see everyone comes together. Okay, so they all have bags full of stones and all that, because now it's really going to happen. And here comes Jesus standing next to the woman and saying to everyone, wait just a moment before you start throwing your stones. Is there anyone here without guilt and without sin? Go ahead and throw your stones. And then it suddenly becomes really quiet. It's like, oh, I was literally like one of the guys with the bag of stones. Like they were literally projecting their guilt and sin ideas in the form of stones to someone, but they were projecting it. So whether you do that with stones or with the way that you respond to those situations, that really doesn't matter. It's the same stuff. It hurts you, not the one that you're supposed to hit or anything. Like, no, it hurts you because you're actually projecting this onto someone, and it will come back to you because there is nothing outside of you. So Jesus recognized, standing right in the middle of it, being centered in this moment, being centered in, yes, here I am. I'm the way, the truth, and the life. Hello, I'm not tomorrow. I'm right here. I'm also not yesterday. So whatever happened here is over. I'm standing next to this woman, and everyone suddenly is gone. See, it's like the situation solves itself. It literally dissolves. So that's why this is such a great example. Literally the whole situation dissolves. Everyone walks away. So is that forgiveness? Oh yes, it is. That's forgiveness. It's like Jesus literally practicing or exemplifying forgiveness. And the woman just walks away. He says, okay, well, I'm not condemning you either. Like, well, what would there be to condemn? What would there be to condemn? Something that's already over? Well, I would have a long list if I would condemn everyone that did something in the past. Like, that would be a long list, but it doesn't make any sense. It has no reality. So go and sin no more. This is how he walks away. So this is so great as an example. So I'm always so happy to find these things, even though they seem to be so, we used them before, you've read them before, heard them before, but then placing it in this light, it makes it all so different. I love it. So that was, did I answer all the questions? No. So who are you actually forgiving? You're always just forgiving yourself. Who can you give to? I can only give to myself. What I give to myself is given to you because you're not separate from me. There's no separation at all. So that's great. That's great. That's great. So I think we're good for now. So I'm going to play a song as some kind of intermezzo. And I thank you so much for being present here in this class and allowing this to be bombarded with, so to speak. And I hope you pick something up that you will use. I will certainly keep it in mind. It's like, oh yeah, this is so great to remember and to use practically. So I would say use it, accept it, use it, apply it. You've heard it. So thank you for everything, and go and sin no more. Have a wonderful day. In class, of course, we continue, but first of all, I want to play a song. Thank you so much. Thank you.